It's been amazing. Now it says we're live streaming, so maybe we weren't before. So I'll start over again. This is new to me. Live streaming on Facebook from ArtStart for Giving Tuesday. I just want to say thank you for everyone who's been tuning in today. It's been a lot of fun. Very humbling to see all these amazing quotes and performances and videos in our honor, and it makes me really proud of where I work, which is a good feeling because we spend a lot of time there. So it's nice to like it. And just thank you to everyone that's contributed, both all of that information and quotes and everything. And of course, money. It's nice to have those contributions as well. My name is Melinda Childs. I'm the Community and Cultural Development Director at ArtStart, which is actually a shared position with Nicolet College, really built around the notion of strengthening the cultural connections in our community. ArtStart from the very beginning had it built into their mission that to be more than just an arts and cultural center downtown, but to really serve a community development role, and believed very strongly that arts and culture impacted all other aspects of our community. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Some examples of that kind of programming we do is the Project North, the School of the Arts, artist in residency programs. We have some new initiatives on the horizon, working with the Grid on innovation and entrepreneurship, and a community garden and permaculture resource center. So I have always held the belief that you can attach art to anything, to any subject matter. It can solve and be a vehicle coming together, communities coming together, and coming up with new ways of doing things. So we are going to have a great conversation around economic development and community development with these three rock stars. We decided you were earlier. And I'm going to let all three of you introduce yourselves, but I do want to thank you for your time. And I know, as a matter of fact, that all three of you put in more hours than there are in a day to your jobs, and you are totally dedicated to this community and thinking about it, working about it all the time. And I use the term community. I know Stacy used to be in our region and now she's in a broader region, but I know her heart is still here, and that none of us really see boundaries anyway. So I know that your time is very valuable, and the fact that you're here with us today is really special, and I want to thank you for that. So I'll let you introduce yourselves. I'll start with Stacy because she's my first little square.
Hello, so I'm Stacy Johnson, and I'm now a Regional Economic Development Director for the state. So I work for the WEDC, but like Melinda said, I used to work for Oneida County, and more so, I still live in the ArtStart area. So ArtStart itself, the people that are involved, they hold a very, very dear space for me personally as part of the community in which I live, and I've raised my family since coming to Wisconsin. And then also, of course, the economic impact and the business impact, and I will get more into that later. So nice to see you today. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Stacy. Sandy.
Okay, I'll go next, and thank you, Melinda, and thank you, ArtStart. This is a fantastic opportunity to talk with you and the community about the value that you bring to the area, and specifically related to economic development, which we'll be talking about today. Melinda, I've never been called an economic development rock star, but I'm going to embrace that terminology. So here I go.
You do have kind of a leopard print on.
Yeah, so I look like an 80s or a 70s rock star, right? Has been. Anyway, I'm Sandy Bishop, and I am the Executive Director for Economic and Community Development at Nicolet College. As Melinda mentioned, we have a very strong partnership, and we have been developing that partnership with the community over the last few years. And we're excited to be able to share some of that with you today. I've been at the college for 23 years, and in that time really worked with economic development, specifically around business and industry. Training, organizational development, workforce development kinds of things. It's only been the last few years that we've embraced a larger role around community development as a means to economic development. And so the connections have been fabulous, and looking forward to sharing a little of that today.
Thank you. Last but not least, Brittany.
Thank you. And thank you, ArtStart, for taking a whole day to celebrate yourself for the community. I think it's been really fun to just kind of pop in to Facebook every once in a while and see what's going on. And it's just been really great to see all of the different people who are really supporting ArtStart in the community. My title is that I'm the Executive Director for Greater North Regional Economic Development Corporation. So I am in a member organization that oversees economic development actually in 8 counties and 3 tribal nations here in the Northwoods. So we play a great role in supporting our county level economic development corporations and our communities, and working together to give them the information and access to different resources that they need. I personally have an artistic background and have a deep experience inside of arts and culture management, but the role that really became a real big interest to me when we moved to the Northwoods, really coming back home for my husband, who is from Rhinelander, and my coworkers are waking up, so the dogs are shaking, and you're going to hear some really fun sounds. But it really just became clear to me that economic development and kind of shoring up those resources in the community was a great part that I could play, and my understanding of arts and culture development could actually enhance in certain ways that maybe it wouldn't necessarily do the same as far as just being able to hit capacity inside of the Northwoods. I think there are a number of people who are doing a great job in arts and culture in the area, and I wanted to step to the other side and help with economic development. We're all playing a part and a role inside of helping this community become the best place for us to live and thrive. So I'm happy to be always partnering with all the people on this call.
And ditto. I have to say, we are so lucky to have all 3 of you in our community, and not just for the work that you do, but for your larger picture understanding. And I'm excited for this call today, because this is probably one of the hardest parts of my job, is helping to bridge the understandings, so we have a cultural audience, of course, that loves ArtStart for our open mic nights and our gallery exhibitions and all of our artistic programming. And of course, we have the economic development professionals that are working on bringing in new companies, supporting new businesses, workforce development. And there's such an overlap between those 2 things. But for those who are kind of rooted in either place, it's hard for them to see the overlap. So I'm glad that the 3 of you do. And I think that's really stellar. And in fact, we've been recognized for that outside of our region, that we do have such a strong collaborative team across sectors. And I'm glad that you're here today to help speak to both sides as well, because we've had a ton of the really awesome art exhibits today, the concerts and everything there. But this is a really important conversation, and hopefully people who are listening live can also share it, and it will be viewed again and again, because this is the meat of it, I think. So with that said, I just have kind of a framing question for the 3 of you. And then I just invite you to respond to that and riff off of each other, and we'll just have a short conversation. And that question is, what impact does having an arts and cultural center have on economic development? So from your perspective.
I can go first, if you don't mind, because I just wanted to say that I was probably a little slower coming to the party with understanding the connections between arts and culture and economic development. And I think I knew it intrinsically, but I wasn't able really to talk about it. And since I've joined ArtStart's board of directors, through my role with the partnership between Nicolay and ArtStart, I've learned so much about ArtStart and the organization and how it views itself. I would say not only as an arts center in the community, but really an economic, region-wide community development organization. So it's not putting on performances and having events only for the sake of the events themselves, which are fabulous and actually would be enough in and of themselves, but also it kind of transcends the events to really contribute to this larger fabric of the community and frankly the whole North Woods. And I know there's lots of other organizations that contribute to, you know, having really cool things happening here in the North Woods. Lots of arts and cultural events and things for people to do, whether they're visiting or if they live here full time, or if they're trying to recruit people to come up to the North Woods. But ArtStart has a way of knitting all of that together and helping us transcend our boundaries in our own little communities and kind of our own circles of influence to kind of create this wave that's bigger than just what any one part is contributing. So that's been cool for me. It's been much easier to talk about the value of ArtStart and a community arts center in general by understanding how you're just so interconnected with everything else that's happening here in the North Woods. You really can't talk about a new initiative without ArtStart coming up in that conversation, whether they're facilitating or writing a grant or convening or just giving resources and support to all these neat things happening up here. So, you know, that's the value that I see ArtStart playing.
Yeah, and kind of to feed right off of what Sandy said, and it's interesting, you know, I had a conversation with Melinda just a week or so ago, and this is a role that we are seeing more and more need for. So whether it be very large corporations to very small businesses, the topic of inclusion and innovation is front and center on everyone's mind. And that's one of the reasons that in like the northern part of Wisconsin, we tend to sometimes lose either business interest, expansion, or even in families staying and investing in the area is inclusion. We don't have a lot of diversity in the North Woods. And if you do come here and you're not connected to the community, how do you learn about that? You know, so if I'm a business and I say, okay, you know, I'm ready, I want to build a board that has diversity and I want women representation and I want, you know, minority representation, but where do I go to help learn how to do that the right way? And ArtStart is the answer, not only just for our region, but I reached out as a statewide conversation because you have expertise in not only economic development within the organization of ArtStart, but you have somebody that understands the global picture and has connections, not only throughout Wisconsin, but throughout the country, sometimes even the world, right? I mean, I was able to meet Mexican diplomats at ArtStart. Where else would I have had that opportunity, you know, in the state in northern Wisconsin? But that's a very, very important, you know, one of many very important aspects to economic development, especially as we move into the future and we look at what jobs look like in the next 10 years, where innovation, inclusion, the health of the community, those are defining factors as to where I want to build my business and if I'm going to invest in expanding my business. And in the area, ArtStart has just been such an incredible example of that. Not only just to say, okay, I've inspired you to do better, but I can be part of your team to make it happen. And I just think that that's incredible.
And even just to deepen that, you know, taking a cue from Milwaukee and how they use belonging as the driving force for how they do all of their problem solving. I think, you know, to Stacy's point, this is a moment where we're going to see some shifts in how and why and where people live. And just as a very personal story to share, my husband and I spent 18 years in New York City. I met him there. He's from Rhinelander and we wanted to come home, but he was worried that he, as an artistic professional, might feel like a fish out of water. But one of the first things we did was visit ArtStart And I remember that it was a show of the collection from Marshfield Clinic, I believe. And my husband was over the moon for the first time. His hometown had high caliber quality art that was being shown inside the footprint of the city, and it made him feel like he was going to be okay. And that's what we want to do for all of these different professionals who can live and work wherever they want. This is the place where we want them to come. We want them to bring their expertise. We want them to bring their families and their businesses and contribute to our communities. And that's really what ArtStart really means, you know, as that open door gateway of here's what we have to offer. You know, simply put, won't you join us?
I think those are such great points. And I have a funny story along those lines to share. Right around when I first started at ArtStart, and I was meeting some of the downtown businesses, and one woman was new to the area, and she moved her husband. I can't remember what his job was, but he had a choice of 2 or 3 different areas he could move to. So she Googled them all. And the first thing that came up when she Googled Rhinelander happened to be a video that ArtStart had made when they were just launching their development campaign to become an organization. And that video was still searchable or, you know, coming up on Google. And she said, oh, they have an art center. They can't be all that bad. And then she picked Rhinelander, you know, so I think sometimes we don't think about how our amenities send a message to those who aren't from here or to those who are from here. And that was another topic that came up earlier in conversation in one of the other live conversations where a few people from Rhinelander talked about how they grew up here from and how amazing it is for the kids who live here now that who knows who will get sparked or what kinds of ideas will come out of just the exposure to the kinds of programs and thinking that happens when not just when you see art or listen to it, but some of these more integrated programs we have with artists going into the schools or the community garden and kids coming out and connecting food and growing food with public art and with making things. And so there's all these little things and there's so much more we can do. This is why we need Giving Tuesday, because even listening to you guys talk and like there's lots of ways we can do more and be more involved, especially with some of the new business and new families moving in. So it's pretty exciting. Does anybody have anything else to add on those lines?
Well, on the point of people who grew up here and just being gobsmacked with what happened, you know, Project North is just this moment that I cherished so much. And some of my husband's friends he went to high school with actually came back for Project North and were just so excited that there was this thing happening in their hometown. And that, you know, that really couldn't happen without the leadership from ArtStart, but also the collaborative approach. There's no way our small rural organizations could do that alone. It had to be a number of different agencies and organizations coming together, and we all have worked really hard to build these relationships. And I, you know, just those shining moments like Project North, you know, really stand out to me.
We didn't get to have it this year, but it's gonna come back.
Right. And it's trust, you know, I think that was overwhelming throughout Project North for me too, is just the trust that the community had in ArtStart, and then the trust that all of the different organizations that put that together had in each other. You know, like I've worked in Florida predominantly, but I lived in New York also, and then here throughout the state. But the trust in each other and the commitment not only to your own organization, but your commitment to other organizations, right? How many times has, you know, Melinda, have you been part of a conversation that doesn't necessarily pertain specifically to ArtStart, but you're there because you believe in everyone else? And if there is any lesson that I would say I've taken away from the very diverse conversations I've had within the walls of ArtStart is you believe and invest in everyone else, which is why it's really nice to be able to invest back in you, because man, you have given day and night and time everything from, hey, I'm having a really hard day, so you brought your dog over for me, just because they needed that to get through the day, right? They knew what I needed. And every community needs that. I mean, it's kind of, you say like the heart of the community, but it is, it's having that personal connection and knowing that it's a safe place to turn. And it's a place that you are going to have somebody believe in you. I think that is, I can't stress that enough, the importance of that in economic development, community development, and human development. So
I wanted to also just mention, you had talked about the GRID, the entrepreneurial initiative that is a partnership happening up here in the Northwoods. And that's another area of economic development, is entrepreneurial development and assisting both people in the creative industry, but also anyone in any industry with infusing creativity and problem solving and new ideas into solving problems and addressing their businesses challenges. And when Stacy was talking about, ArtStart providing the support and being there, and Melinda just showing up to the meetings, and we aren't always talking the same language as the economic developers. And sometimes it just takes a while to recognize that connection with innovation and creativity, and understanding that they're not mutually exclusive ideas, that everything we do involves art and design and creative problem solving and that sort of thing. And so I think I have to give you an A+ for your energy level and your perseverance to being a player in this sphere that I don't know, for a lot of years has been dominated by maybe just a different mindset, and bridging those mindsets.
Oh, well, thank you. That's a lot of kind words for myself and the organization, and it's interrelated, because the support of our board and our volunteers and our artists that's where the energy comes from, so. Well, this is so much fun. I feel like we could probably talk forever, but I know you guys are busy. And I do want to ask my last question, though, because I think it's kind of fun and it's a nice way to close. And that is just, if you could pick one word that would summarize what ArtStart means to you personally. You don't even have to have your economic development hats on, but what would that one word be?
I'll go first on this one, because I put some thought into this and it became so clear. To me, the word is breaker switch. Okay? And this is why. 2 reasons why I would say. The first is, you think of a community or a place or even a person as a house, right? And you have your upstairs bathroom and your downstairs kitchen nook, and the two really don't interact or have a reason to interact, but they both need to have that breaker switch turned on for them to light and for them to shine, right? So within the community, I would say ArtStart is that breaker switch, because you're able to take what already exists or what is coming or being developed, but you're able to make it shine brighter. You're able to take it to the next level and to highlight its strengths, and to provide that warming light. And that's the second reason why I chose breaker switch, was that warming light. So I think we have all, whether it be in business or personally, found ourselves in a dark place, found ourselves lost in a community, especially in rural communities. Sometimes you don't know where to go, if I fit in, how I can fit in, and you look for that light to guide you home. And I would say, and I guarantee, and I know it, for many, many people, ArtStart provided that place and that way home when they didn't know where else to go. You're always going to be welcomed when you walk in the door. You're always going to find something different every time, but you're going to find that you are wanted and you're a part of what is going on inside of that building. And for so many people, that's missing up here sometimes. So breaker box is my answer, because in many, many ways, you provide the light and the shine that our community needs.
To make me cry.
Yeah. Brittany, do you have your word? Because now I've got to think of a better one.
It's not competitive.
I just, like I said earlier, I was just reflecting on all of the things, and how, for me personally, when I started with Oneida County and stuff like that, that I just, it has to say, like, it makes you cry, that, you know, that the meaning has been, personally has affected my life and my career so much that, you know, I can't say thank you enough for it. So
That's sweet.
Yeah. Well, my word is nexus, so it's not as you know, like power source, but really because I appreciate ArtStart's flexibility in what the space can do, and also that it does not stop at the four walls of that building. It really does spill out, but you know, the staff and the volunteers and the board take whatever ride that you give them because they do trust you. So, you know, back in my previous arts life 2.5 years ago, you know, the place to invite Joanna Mendelshaw and Equus Projects in happened to be ArtStart. And they had a fabulous time doing something specifically for that space. And there was just trust that it was going to work. And, you know, when art centers can really blast beyond their walls and kind of just let the art just ooze out into the community, that's where the power really is, because, you know, each of our communities need to feel the impact of artistic process, and they have to see it in their everyday life. And it's really hard to have happen in some rural communities, but just the dedication of ArtStart is making it happen up here.
That's the fun part too. The project Brittany was referring to was a modern dance company that came from New York, who normally works outdoors with horses, but they created a piece specifically for ArtStart space and went through every room in the building. And I would say it probably is my favorite part of my job, when people come to me with crazy ideas and I'm like, yes, let's figure it out. How do we make it work? That's the fun stuff. It's also the stuff that probably gets me in the most trouble, but
Thank you for getting into trouble with us.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say, should we let you off the hook, Sandy? Do you want your one word to be goodbye?
I've got 4 words, actually. 5 words to describe ArtStart, and we can put hyphens between them so it is just one word altogether. But like the air we breathe.
Oh.
That's how I see ArtStart, because I guess I'm one of those people that never thought I was very artsy. I never thought I was creative. I didn't do art. And what ArtStart has done for me personally, and Melinda in particular, your influence has allowed me to recognize art in every other aspect of life, and that it's kind of like a fish that's swimming in the water. Art is like that water, or in my example, the air we breathe. It's just part of our psyche, part of our human and spiritual experience, and a connection, you know, between us and each other, and us and our creator, and all of that. And so to me, what ArtStart has taught me is that art is, you know, it's everything everywhere. And then that's the way it's helped me explain, what does community art have to do with economic development? Well, it makes those connections easy.
Oh, you guys, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of those thoughts and all of those words. And again, you're the energy. I mean, just everything you said. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing all of that so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Let's do it again.
Yes.
Thanks. I don't know how we're supposed to end this thing. I think we just we say that's a wrap, and we go start our rock star band practice. That'll be for next year's Giving Tuesday, our actual rock performance.
You got it.
Anyone wants to see that.
Never know.
Entertaining. Thanks, you guys. Everybody, you're amazing. I miss you all, and I thank you all for everything you do.
Ditto.
Likewise.
Ditto.
Bye.